Thank you. Thanks for joining us today for the HES webinar, What Energy Managers Need to Know About Procuring Natural Gas. The presentation today is going to be broken into two parts. First, I will start off with a brief overview of the risk tolerance and buying habits that are specific to your personal needs. Joe Boris will then walk us through a more detailed overview of the natural gas market trends. The goal of this presentation is to get you to think about your existing strategy and hopefully present at least one market trend that makes you see your strategy differently. So let's start by talking about HES. I just want to take a minute to provide an overview of the HES Energy Marketing. Most people think of HES as the HES toy trucks or the gas stations up and down the East Coast, or maybe even when we owned the New York Jets. The HES Corporation is actually a Fortune 100 company that is celebrating its 80th year in business. While the larger corporation is actually focused on exploration and production, the Energy Marketing Department, where I work, is a division focused serving approximately 21,000 commercial industrial customers up and down the 95 corridor, really from Florida up to Maine, out west into Indianapolis and Indiana. We provide electricity sustainability products as well as a full suite of solution products like conversions and CNG. But today's webinar is going to be strictly focused on natural gas. My name is Daniel Fritz, and I oversee the National Account Sales Team. Joe Boris, who runs our natural gas commodities desk, will be sharing his insight shortly. So let's start by getting into what are your preferences and goals. Before Joe can talk about the market trends, we need to first look at you and your company's buying preferences to determine your risk tolerances and appropriate strategy. It's important to remember the market trends are just indicators of where prices may go. No one has a crystal ball on where prices are going to. It reminds me of the old saying, if we all knew where prices were going, we'd all be sitting on a private island somewhere drinking a drink. But instead, we have to figure out where prices are going tomorrow and how we can handle that risk. Just 5 years ago, before the financial meltdown, natural gas was trading between $13 to $15 a decatherm. It now ranges between $3 and $4 a decatherm. Who would have predicted that the impact of shale gas would have such a large effect on the marketplace? So the big question is, what do we do next? What's the next change around the corner, and are we prepared for it? First, I believe you need to define what success is to you. This is probably one of the most difficult questions when I ask a customer for them to answer, believe it or not. Everybody wants the lowest possible price, but unfortunately, without a clear strategy, that puts you at an additional risk. So if you look at the question, how do we define success with regards to procuring natural gas? You need to figure out, is your goal simply to achieve a budget? Do you want to beat last year's number? Or do you want the lowest possible price? Depending on your answer, that will dictate what type of strategy you take. Conservative companies like to have a fixed number for their budgetary purposes. They can usually factor that price into their cost of goods sold, allocate the correct funding, and have no surprises. While this can be ideal for certain types of businesses, it prevents the company from achieving market downside participation. You basically lock in a fixed price, you're done. Market goes down, you cannot achieve any of that downside. If you go after beating the price from last year, better than last year concept, that can be rewarding for performance metrics, and it can be achieved through a combination of product types. This would be considered a moderate risk approach. This to me is more of a diversified approach. This is balancing maybe a combination of fixing your price, buying 50% at a fixed price, and also tailoring some into maybe a floating price. The third area, which is really the most aggressive, is going to be the lowest possible price. Everybody obviously wants to pay the lowest possible price, but it carries the most amount of risk. It can be rewarding, but can also be very risky. The markets are not always predictable, and the product structure necessary would require floating components with upside exposure. Keep in mind, when you go that route, you are floating with the market. Market goes up, that's the price you pay. Market goes down, that's the price you pay. So that being said, let's ask the polling question. How do you define your risk level?
Thanks, Daniel. If everybody just wants to take a minute just to answer the polling question, that would be great. And then we'll shoot out the results.
Okay, so the results show that 75% of everybody on the line chose moderate, which is really not surprising considering most companies are trying to have some sort of structure that allows them price protection or limited price protection, but also gives them the opportunity to potentially capture some downside opportunity. So if we take that and we move that into product type, that's the next area that you really should be looking at. What type of product should you buy or should you structure in order to give you your desired outcome? So if we look at the slide from left to right, it goes from a fixed price product all the way to a floating. Based on your definition for success, different products can help you achieve your goal. From the low risk side for conservatives, you can completely fix or lock in your price. I spoke about that earlier. You lock in your price, you have no downside opportunity, but you also do not have any upside risk. This provides you definite budget certainty. You could also lock in just the basis and set triggers. The trigger program is great. Hess Corporation has a great trigger program. We always get accolades over our trigger program. It's easy to use. It's great for companies that they want to lock in a portion of the price, i.e. like a basis, and then they set predetermined market orders. So in the event the market being volatile trades down to that level and trades through, you get executed at that downside price. The great thing about triggers is that it's great for a company that has time constraints. They don't have the time to monitor the market on a daily basis. They can put a strategy in place and they let the market volatility become their friend versus their foe. Riskier buyers can decide not to lock in anything and settle on the monthly index or settle on an NYMEX last day. Obviously, as I said before, that's a very risky approach, but it does work well for some companies. I've experienced in the past companies where their purchasing of market or purchasing of their energy at market is based on what their competitors are doing. So in an environment where companies feel that their competitors are floating with the market, they typically do not want to lock in their price. They typically want to maintain the same level of purchasing pricing as their competition. It really boils down to what is your level of risk and ultimately what are you trying to achieve. So we also need to consider two time factors. The first I'll go through right now, which is how far in advance should you start looking at your natural gas needs? Do you go 30 days before flow? Do you go 6 months out? Do you go 1 year or longer? I can tell you that on average, Hess customers are signing deals between 50 and 80 days before the flow. That's somewhere between 30 days and the 6-month mark. I can also tell you that sophisticated companies, large industrial end users, they're looking at 2016, 2018 supply now. They like where prices are currently. They have a strategy in place. Maybe that strategy is to beat their budget. Market prices offer them that opportunity. They take advantage of it. Many of them, although they may be purchasing or looking that far out, they're looking at a strategy that involves a few different products. So the other time factor is what is the typical length for procuring energy? That's really a question that you need to answer yourself. The majority of customers, they tie their energy purchasing to whatever their budgetary needs are or whatever their strategy needs, their corporate needs are. So the question is, do you go, when you look at terms, do you go 12 months, do you go 2 years, do you go 3 years, do you go longer? 25% of our customers are already contracted beyond 2015, if that gives you any indication where the market is leaning. We're seeing a trend towards longer-term contracts. We also need to remember that different product structures, we also need to remember that if you look at a longer-term contract, there's a lot of different product structures that offer you the ability to have a contract term for business, but still not lock 100% of your requirements in. One of the biggest issues that I think most businesses are facing today is demand. Current economic environment, the demand for their products is down, so therefore they're asking questions, I like to go out further. I want to hedge out further. However, what is my volume going to look like tomorrow? The key is that you need to discuss these questions with your company in advance. You need to be prepared so that when the market opportunity arises, you can take advantage of it. Time commitment. This is another area that most companies really, I think, overlook until they're realizing that they have an issue. How much time can you really devote to managing your energy? Every day, because it's your full-time job, once a week, once a month? Most individuals who are doing procurement are doing multiple jobs. That's another kind of fallout from the economic environment. A lot of businesses are running leaner. They're not a team of 5 or 6 procurement officers. Now it's a team of 1. So you really need to ask, do you have the time commitment to monitor the market? If you look at the chart on the slide, this reflects a recent rally in prices from August 9th of 2013 to September 5th at 370. Were you monitoring the markets at this time? Were you able to protect yourself from the rise? Even within the day of September 5th, if we look at the price ranges, they range from 357 to 370. Were you watching those price movements? Obviously, having a strategy in place, having your goals in place, understanding your risk, understanding how much time you can dedicate to monitoring the market will all dictate how you protect yourself from the risk in the marketplace and how you can achieve the best results. I think now's a good time to ask for another poll question. How much time can you dedicate looking at the market?
Thanks, Daniel. Again, everybody, please take a moment to answer the poll, and we will push out the results just in a moment. Okay, I think have the results that you need there, Daniel?
I'm not seeing them yet.
Oh. Okay, maybe Daniel Harkin can help us with that then.
Okay, there we go. So 37.6% of individuals polled said once a week. The market is trading daily, every minute of the day. So that tells you when you're trying to achieve the best possible price, and you can only look at a price once a week, you need to have a sound strategy. You need to have the products in place that help you achieve your goal.